For 2, a researcher recorded the birth weights of a sample of newborn babies. The average birth weight was 7.2 pounds and the standard deviation was 0.9 pounds. The birth weights follow a normal distribution. So now we're supposed to label the number line so that the curve is a normal curve and follows the properties of these, right? So include 3 standard deviations above and below the mean. Well, the mean is in the middle of a normal distribution. So 7.2 has to be right there, right in the middle. And then the standard deviations, you go up by 0.9 and down by 0.9. So this would be 8.1, and this would be 6.3. This would be 9.0. This would be 5.4. This would be 9.9, and this would be 4.5. So that's 3 standard deviations above and below the mean. So B says determine the percent of newborns that weigh between 2 standard deviations below the mean and 2 standard deviations above. So that's from here to here. And really, the thing is that I'm not even going to answer this question. I'm just going to remind you of the empirical rule. If you remember, the empirical rule says anything that falls between the first standard deviations is 68%. So between the first and one below and one above. Anything that's between the next 2, one below and one above, 95%. And anything that falls 3, that's almost everything. That's 99.7%. So the empirical rule, so you use that in combination. So you should be able to answer B, right? C. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's look at question F. What percent of newborns weigh more than 9 pounds? So that would be like right here, more than 9 pounds. So you need to combine some ideas about the empirical rule. That's 2 standard deviations above. Now, if we go 2 standard deviations below, we know that's 95%, right? So 95% would be between here and here, but we don't want to know what's between here and here. We want to know what's sort of in this region right here for F. So we need to use the properties of symmetry to help us figure that out. We know that the whole graph is going to be 100%. So what's left in these 2 spaces right here is 100 minus 95, that's 5%. 5% left between these 2 spaces, and we know that it's symmetric. So 5 is left between these 2, then we'll cut that in half, and it's 2.5 that's left right here. So approximately what percent of newborns weighed more than 9 pounds? That's in this little space. That's 2.5%. So you're using that empirical rule to answer that question. So you should be able to use the empirical rule also to answer these other questions, and that's your job to do the rest of the questions.